I am all for having a reminder for the white people of their place.
Hey there, welcome to FANTI, the podcast for all those complex and complicado conversations about the gray areas in our lives. I am journalist, author, and professor Jarrett Hill.
And I am Tre'vell Anderson. Welcome back to yet another wonderful show. Let's see. Oh, you know what this is. This is one of our mailbag episodes. We call them What Was Said. And we are going to jump right on in to an email that we have here from one of our longtime listeners and often contributor, to the show's, discourse, Alistair. The subject of their email is "The Great British Moral Panic Can Get Us All." Quotation. Nope, that's not a quotation. Parentheses. This is a read. Okay. Alistair says, "Hi, Tre'vell and Jarrett. This message is in regards to Is Pride for Not Queer People? Based on the title, I was all set to write in about how children of the LGBTQ, leg booty Q parents are absolutely members of the queer community and thus totally welcome to Pride. But as I listened, I sidelined my family-focused thoughts for another time because this episode was very specific. I understood what you, Tre'vell, meant by queer, just for the record. Great, thank you so much. As soon as I heard British Vogue was involved, I knew the plain old Anglo anti-LGBTQ fuckery was to blame. The British press is famously homophobic and transphobic, and as a recovering Anglophile living in this racist system, I was sadly not surprised by the magazine's choices. This is the UK establishment saying, hey, some people like being in the closet, some people are proud to be in the closet. Wouldn't it be better if more people stayed quiet and in the closet? Go there now, please. It's no secret the UK government and institutions, including their own healthcare system, the NHS, would prefer queer people of all backgrounds and identities to disappear or die in the closet so they can go on pretending they still have an empire and that racism doesn't exist. I wish I was exaggerating. Some months ago, Scottish Parliament, which is a constituent democracy. Oh, wow, this is okay. Getting a little history lesson. Okay, I hope you got your pen and your paper and your pad, or I think they take notes on iPads these days. I don't know. Anyway, okay.
You get the pencil and just scribble it on there, make you feel like you did something.
Yeah, the pencil. Yeah, HP. We need to get sponsored by Hewlett Packard. They still making products. Anyway.
No. I want the Apple. I want the iPad. Let's go for what we want here. Sorry, Alistair. Go ahead. If you want me to pick up some of this is a long letter. Let me know.
Okay. Yes. Some months ago, Scottish Parliament, which is a constituent democracy under the UK, passed the Gender Recognition Reform Bill, which aimed to amend the Gender Recognition Act of 2004 in an effort to make it easier for trans and non-binary people in Scotland and just Scotland to change their IDs and birth certificates to the names and gender markers that best represent them. Still with me? ? I hope so. We with you. UK Parliament promptly and unprecedentedly overturned this democratically passed act, using a rarely mentioned and oft ignored, until now, part of the UK law known as Section 35. Section 35 was invoked and used in April to effectively nullify the passing of the bill, halting it entirely. This, in my opinion, is a travesty, and not just because it undermines decades of grassroots queer and ally work for basic gender-affirming recognition in Scotland, but puts gasoline on the trash fire that is UK politics and puts trans and non-binary lives in a perpetual state of anxiety and fear in their own country. Sounds familiar, huh? Infuriatingly, British Vogue's article this June is intended to muddy and convolute the conversation around gender identity in UK society and culture and its legal system. Much of the British press reeks of, quote, just asking questions with this sort of divisive bullshit. And they're sadly using a person as a puppet to get their anti-LGBTQ subtext across. It's just vile. In some small way, I want to reassure you, Tre'vell, that this is not a rebranding of Pride. This is the new language of the anti-trans, anti-queer, classist, racist elite of the UK. The audience is not queer people, but white straight people. The press of TERF Island is pushing a subtle yet still very harmful narrative that is distinctly British, aka white, straight, cis, and happy classism and capitalism exist without actually acknowledging them and the harms classism and capitalism have inflicted on themselves and the world. In short, UK is a very pro-cognitive dissonance sort of place. One graph to go, y'all. We almost there. I'm not an expert on much of anything. Oh, that was very much so like, I don't know much about algebra, but I knew. Okay.
See, I heard it very much as, I may just be a boy from West Virginia, but let me tell you what I do know. Like, that's what this feels like to me. Come on, Alistair, land this plane.
Okay, I'm not an expert on much of anything. I'm just a listener and observer. In stepping back or outside of my experience and reflecting on what I have learned, unlearned, and relearned has helped me read between the lines a lot when it comes to white establishments and PWIs making questionable decisions. While we ask, "Why are you here?" to someone who is not out or chooses to withhold their labels or identity, we can also ask, who benefits from your silence and why?
If ever there needed to be an organ moment.
Listen, because you might have hit on something there, okay?
I feel like this is why this show exists, right? Like moments like these, to be able to have conversations like this, to be able to have feedback like this to a conversation that we had. Like, these are the moments that make it feel like, oh, this is why we do this. Talk to me about how this is resonating for you.
Okay, so I appreciate the, this like cultural context. I'm calling it, loosely cultural. I don't know what the right word is, but this like socio-political context of, what's going on across the pond, right? Because there are some of the things in this letter that I did know, right, in terms of like the, historically and perhaps still contemporarily homophobic and transphobic press. We've seen a lot of that, but a lot of the other context I think is really interesting. When you look specifically at the the publication in question and the individuals, right, in question from that conversation. For those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, this was for the episode in which I had brought up this quote from Ncuti Gatwa in a British Vogue article during June. It was like their Pride issue, and Ncuti Gatwa, who's an actor from Sex Education, plays the new doctor in Doctor Who, is, basically presented Pride for him as meaning, a freedom to not label publicly and to like, have a private life. And all of that. So that's the context of this letter. And so I think it's really interesting to like have that cultural context, and then to talk about like the way that Alistair, right, has reframed much of the conversation of like, who benefits from your silence, and why is a really interesting question. There is a part of me that's like, as I interrogate the utility of that question, I'm kind of on both sides, of yes, that's a question we need to listen to and interrogate and put forth, versus, does that question potentially lead to, some sort of like blaming or, misplaced accountability, etc. I don't know. I'm in the moment, and I literally just read that for the first time, so I'm processing. But it's given me a lot to think about. What about for you?
I feel like I've spent so much time lately thinking about the ways in which our media influences the ways that we think about things, about people, about each other. and the ways that some of that can be so insidious. It can be so in the fabric, in the lining, and you don't even recognize you're wearing it. Right. And like, I think that sometimes when we haven't really asked a question like you asked in this situation, we can't get to this answer. Right. But like, it points us to like, oh, this is how this shows up in this way. Right. I don't know if you're like this, but as a writer, like I have a list of things that I want to write one day. And for years, I've had this thing in my list about the ways that white supremacy shows up in millions of different ways. And we've talked about it here in various different kinds of ways. But like, as I see this story of like the way that Alistair really laid this out is really beautifully done, by the way. Just like, it's a very well written email. Really great work. I think it shows us another way that like the ways that this system will try to oppress us or shut us down or erase segments of our communities, right? To like make them and then use the same name, use the same word, use the same like, you know, kinds of thing. We'll call it pride, right? And then try to act like this thing isn't happening. I think it's just like another one of the ways that we can see these things arising in culture. And like, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. And I think the thing that started that for me was the Britney Spears documentary. During the pandemic, you know, we're all like sitting here watching different things and like thinking about how the media shaped so much of the narrative about her. And how we started to think about her and what we started to believe about her and what we thought she deserved because of the things that we believed, right? And like, and then getting the real picture of it, it made me start thinking about that. I think Donald Trump has made me start thinking about that over the years. There's a lot of different things that have kind of come through in the ways that our media and our government, particularly, like the ways that they're able to work together to be able to kind of press messages that can be really, really harmful. So I really appreciate this email.
Before we go to break really quickly, I want to provide a recommendation. I believe I've mentioned it on this show before, and I'm re-mentioning it again because it relates to this specific conversation about media, about press, which is the same thing, and about the ways that it has been and is being used to push, you know, anti-queer, anti-trans, etc., anti-black messages. The recent episode of Amara Jones's The Anti-Trans Hate Machine podcast, it's in its second season right now. They just released an episode called Capturing the New York Times. And it is a fabulous, wonderfully, deeply reported and rigorous dive into the New York Times, into how the New York Times has become a mouthpiece for, you know, the conservative right, anti-gay, anti-queer, anti-everything, evangelical, Christian, blah, 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 white supremacist movement via its, you know, reportage and its, you know, the stories within its opinion pages. And so, you know, Alistair just gave us, you know, a real good breakdown of the, you know, UK, British, European Union, etc. situation, right? If you want to know specifically what's going on over here in these streets, okay? What the saying is, sweep around your own front door before you sweep around someone else's. Go ahead and check out that podcast, the entire podcast, but especially that episode.
You just gave us so much good shoulder work. I hope people are watching on YouTube.
You gotta be on the YouTube.
I just want to say to white people specifically, especially cis het white people specifically.
Oh, wait, well, now, hold on.
To conservatives, we're going to have a little bit of conversation about some of the feedback we've gotten from y'all over the months. Y'all are going to get to hear from producer Palmyra in the later segment. But like, when you hear us talking about these things and demonstrating how things are deteriorating right? Like the conversation about like, oh, things are getting bad, they're going to continue to get worse, right? There is nothing that is like slowing these things down. We see the erosion of our laws, the erosions of long-standing policy in this country that is just eroding away. And there's nothing that is like slowing that down that I'm seeing, right? And like, as you're thinking about like how you should be getting involved, how you should be using your voice, how you should be speaking up, how you should be using your privilege. Like, I think that this is one of those moments that you need to be really assessing, like, what am I doing to counter this? Because we've seen so much happen in the last 6 years, and like these kinds of things are just getting worse and worse. We've just saw affirmative action. Y'all know. We'll go to break.
Hey, Sydney, you're a physician and the co-host of Sawbones, a marital tour of misguided medicine, right?
That's true, Justin.
Is it true that our medical history podcast is just as good as a visit to your primary care physician?
No, Justin, that is absolutely not true. However, our podcast is funny and interesting and a great way to learn about the medical misdeeds of the past, as well as some current, not so legit healthcare fads.
So you're saying that by listening to our podcast, people will feel better?
Sure.
And isn't that the same reason that you go to the doctor?
Well, you could say that, but...
And our podcast is free?
Yes, it is free.
You heard it here first, folks. Sawbones, marital tour of misguided medicine, right here on Maximum Fun, just as good as going to the doctor.
No. Still not just as good as going to the doctor, but pretty good.
It's up there.
Welcome back, beautiful people. We are going to get back to your messages. Okay, we have an email here from Melissa. Jarrett, take it away.
It says, hi, Jarrett and Tre'vell. I'm enjoying my deep dive into your episode catalog after a recommendation by Zach Stafford on Vibe Check a few weeks ago. Shout out to the team over at Vibe Check. I especially love you reading and discussing listener feedback and wonder if you ever considered having it says Dr. Diane. I think you mean Dr. Diet.
That is who she, yes.
I hope I'm spelling her name correctly on your show. She brings an awesome perspective regarding neurodiversity every time she writes in or sends a voice memo, and I would love to hear you all have a full chat with her. Keep having these complex and complicado conversations coming. Melissa, have we had Dr. Diet on?
No, we haven't.
We've just had the voice note on, I think, yeah.
We have for an hour, and we about to get dragged as soon as I say this, so I'll drag myself and you in advance.
Oh wait, I don't want to sign up to be dragged.
But you can't. We already here. We recorded. Oh. Too late. Too late. I was just going to say that for those FANTI fam members who have had the opportunity to attend one of our salons, then you have met Dr. Diet, because she is a dedicated member of the FANTI fam and often participates in those salons. And here's where the dragon comes in, because we haven't done one in a few months. But
oh, yeah, that's fair.
But we are working on some special content for the members of the FANTI fam. Stay tuned, okay? But I love the idea of having Dr. Diet. And I wanted to have this on the actual show, because this is your invitation right here, Dr. Diet. Go on, hit us up on the email. Let's figure out how we can, figure out a time to get you on the show, love. Because the people want to hear from ya. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we have another email from Sean C. Levy. It says, regarding the episode Fake Smart, Real Problems, Artificial Intelligence. It says, attacks, disinformation, I tried to let go, I tried to move on. What about wedges? The societal erasure accelerated by the kernel. Oh, we're talking about potatoes. I'm like, what are we talking about?
Keep going.
Okay, sorry. It says, what about wedges? The societal erasure accelerated by the kernel. Wedges are in line for the privilege of full fryship over the tops. Heck, even Miss Hash Brown Patty, queen of all things shredded and reconstituted, comes before taters. Be vigilant, protect the rights of fries, and long live wedges. I cannot believe that this has become such a thing on this show for so long.
Oh, my hand's out of the frame. Oh, look at that arm.
Okay, we see you, Golds. All right. Yes. Do it in close for the Instagram version so that they can see it too.
Okay.
On the podcast version, this is just craziness.
Right. They're like, what is going on?
What is happening?
When did King Kong come into the room? What is going on?
Okay, Sean. Seriously, sorry. This email just totally threw me off. I am very pro wedge. I believe that wedges are a part of the leg booty community that is the French fry.
Oh, wow.
I think that, I don't know what we call that, but I am with you here. And I think I've said this before. Did you eat wedges from KFC back in the day?
Absolutely.
I used to love to get the wedges and then dip them in the macaroni and cheese. Dip them in the mashed potatoes,
The mashed potatoes? Oh, yeah.
which was absurd to me, but I love that shit.
Come on, taters on taters.
Yes.
Listen, it was the great reunification of potatoes, okay?
I love that. But anyway, yes, we will fight for the rest.
No more separate but equal.
But,
you brought them back together.
You know what? Please get off of it. Stop playing on my phone. Okay. All right, Tre'vell, we have this message from Yelena.
I just wanted to say really quickly that I do love a wedge. But there is but a wedge, I just think, they're just all different. It's all potatoes, but they just all different. Cuz like wedges are perfect for dipping. Right? If I'm eating a wedge, I need a sauce. I need something, something to dip it in, right? And because with fries is fries. And, I'm going to eat fries like regular if they taste right. You know what I mean? Too much? Okay.
No, I'm loving this. Because if you really want to get into it, I think that the real crisis has been that KFC got rid of the wedges. But for those of you that miss, oh, that's right, we have our stickers. For those of you that miss the wedges at KFC, I've been trying to speak the gospel of the Wendy's Baconator breakfast sandwich. It comes with a little side. Go ahead, honey. Can y'all see?
Go ahead. Go on, keep talking.
This is our sticker for those of you that are in the FANTI fam and that are watching on YouTube.
Oh, your camera's flipped the right way.
Yeah.
Mine is reverted.
Yeah. But it's tater tots and fries, and it says very that kind of. But they come with a little potato that are kind of like the mini wedges, and they're really, really delicious. So if you want the potato wedge that you kind of miss from KFC, it's adjacent to that, and the breakfast baconator is everything. We got to move on. I can't believe we talked about this for this long.
I'm gonna say, not you just turned this into an ad.
It's so good.
Hold on now.
It's so good. This is not an ad.
Now. We don't give out free. We don't give out free, but you just gave out a whole lot of free promotion on the air.
I believe.
Anyway,
in it. I believe it. I only promote things that I believe.
Not you giving away our power, our leverage. Okay, we got another message here from Yelena. It says, hello, Jarrett and Tre'vell. Longtime listener and big fan of the show here. I was wondering if you all have been watching The Ultimatum Queer Love and whether you had thoughts about it. If so, I would love to hear them. I think it's really ripe for the FANTI treatment. It's trash TV with all the absurdity of reality dating plot lines, the villain treatment, the way we don't know hardly anything about the characters as actual people, but it's the first queer dating reality show, and that brings something so special to the show. Specifically, the cast seems to be so much more invested in talking about their feelings, prioritizing their healing in order to be good partners, consider gender roles. It's really interesting. Plus, so much drama and emotion. LOL. It's also super racially diverse, and I'd love to hear y'all's take on it.
So when we got this email a while back, I was like, I am not going to watch that shit.
You have.
But since I binged the entire series in a day, and I watched the whole thing, I do want to just note a couple of things. It's not the first first queer dating reality show. We've had a few different things.
I think they meant specifically of the ultimatum
in this canon of the series. Yes. So there's that. But I have been wanting something queer from these shows because if you watch The Ultimatum, you may be familiar also with Love is Blind. They're kind of related shows, or they're from the same company and hosted by the same people, which never makes sense to me. But anyway, did you watch this at all?
I did not.
Okay, so just a couple of things here. I did not find the show to be incredibly diverse. There was a good mix on there. I thought there was my favorite was, I think everyone's favorite, the black lesbian woman named Mal. I agree with you that this show has been really great in like being able to, if you're one of those people who likes therapy and like good conversation and all that kind of stuff, they have a lot of that on this show, which is really great to me, and I really enjoy it. I think we also are just seeing like more mature people on this show that are having different kinds of conversations than you see on other kinds of shows that are geared to like a different kind of dater, a different kind of dating show watcher. But like, I actually really enjoyed this series more than I thought I would. So yes, I guess we wouldn't do it necessarily a FANTI on it since you haven't seen it, Tre'vell, but it is an interesting concept. For those of you that aren't familiar, essentially it's for couples who are ready to, one of the partners has given an ultimatum to their partner, and that person has then brought them into the show experience where they will go and do a trial marriage for 3 weeks with someone else, and then they will come back to their partner, and then they will make a decision on if they'll get married to the person that they came with, or they'll get engaged to the other person, or they'll leave single. Which part of it is like a bit absurd, but like it's also very interesting to see them go into a marriage with someone else. And this one is all queer women and non-binary folks, and so yeah, it's a really great show.
Well, I will also use this opportunity in this moment to plug my book, We See Each Other, a Black trans journey through TV and film. I have a chapter on reality. It works. Hold on.
I love that. I was like, I think you're actually going somewhere, and I appreciate it, man. I go in.
It has a chapter on reality television in which I discuss a queer dating reality show, a couple technically, actually, as they, these relate specifically to transness, but the point that you made about the queer dating reality show, I just wanted to shout those out. Trans American Love Story, which is a bachelorette style show, in which the contestants were competing for the love of Calpurnia Adams. And then there is a show out of the UK, actually, called Something About Miriam, which is, a complex history with that particular show, but it was also a bachelorette style show, in which the male people who were competing for the love of Miriam did not know that she was trans. And the entire conceit of the show is that she would choose a guy and reveal to him on camera that she was trans, and we'll see what happens. There's also a podcast related to that Trace Lissette hosts, called what is the name of that podcast? I think it's called There's Something About Miriam. And so, check out those other things in relation to this queer dating reality show conversation. All right?
Do you have a favorite queer dating reality show before we move on?
Well, I'm going to do one of those. You know how like I felt the need to define, and oftentimes we define queer, the word queer, in so many different ways. Right. And so I believe there's some quote. I gotta find it. Go first. I have to find the quote before I give my answer.
Oh no, this feels like a setup.
No, it's not. It's not a setup. It's not a setup. I mean, it actually might be a setup, but
I mean, it definitely is one. I would say my favorite queer reality dating show was Are You the One? Season 8, the queer season of that series. Probably my favorite. Did you find your quote yet? Your mouth is open, so you're searching. I can tell that you're still
I am still searching. Okay, I'm just going to say it. I forget the quote. I'm going to butcher it right now, but it's about like queer, not about like who you're in love with, but about, it was like basically it's a definition of queer that's about like a political stance and like pushing up against, whatever the structures and status quo is. And so when you asked me the question of my favorite queer reality dating show, I had that type of definition, like a more pushing against things definition in my head. And so what immediately came to mind was Flava of Love.
This was actually more of a setup than you might have realized. Flava of Love hits for you as queer?
queer in terms of like a socio-political definition of queer. That's why I gave that whole definition. Were you not paying attention?
No, I was, but I feel like we took the long way on that one.
Well, if I had had the definition, it would have hit a lot. My delivery would have been better. It would have been tighter.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give you that.
Okay.
Let's go into this one. There was a note here that was on Apple Podcasts. I believe I mentioned this before, but it was something that was kind of frustrating to actually see in our feedback. It was about our success episode, and it says, I'm not going to read all of what it says because I actually think that it's...
Yes, we are going to read it. Put it on the table. Put it on the table.
Okay. So it's I'm fine with reading it. It's not like, oh, it's something that shouldn't be read. It's on Apple Podcasts, right? But like, I find it interesting the way that this whole email gets framed from jump. Excuse me, this comment, this rating. It says, I normally love this show, but the June 1st episode is so frustrating to listen to. Friend, congratulations that you can fly to Paris or Mexico for 2 weeks because you're so hardworking and got a great book and media deal. Lots of folks are extremely hardworking and do not have that luxury, so we really don't need to hear you patting yourself on the back or letting yourself relax. Absolutely ridiculous. And they gave the show 1 star, right? The thing that really pisses me off about this rating is if you normally love the show, and we are 170 whatever episodes in at this point, and you had one episode where there was a critique that you didn't like, the show is just like a 1-star show. That was just really interesting to me. But then also, like, to go into like the details of what this person had to say was like not being able to be happy for someone, right? Like, is that friend who is like not able to like celebrate your win, or to be able to enjoy hearing that something else is going well for someone else. It was frustrating to me in that way, but it's also like, you don't always focus on the negative comments, but like I saw that and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's not something that we normally see in our feedback. Tre'vell, you had a huff in a moment, but you look like you breathed a little bit. I wanted to let you cool. I wanted to let you simmer.
I did. Yeah, I did. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I
was like, let me give a little bit more here for myself.
I was ready to light into her, honey. Oh yes, I surely was. I was ready to light up in her because I'm the one who went to Paris and I'm the one who went to Mexico. Okay, I really was. But I did. I took my breakfasts, okay, and I said 1, 2, 3, woosah, okay. And let me say this. Let me say it this way. I hate that this is what has come up for you.
Come on.
In hearing about how I have chosen to care and love on myself with the fruits of my labor. I really hate that this is what has come up for you. But let me also note that ain't got shit to do with me. Now, okay? Now, and I will go a step further because now I'm coming down, and I will say that, you know, this was, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe we mentioned it in the episode specifically where we talked about like quote unquote success, right? And we talked about how we had hesitations. I don't even know what the June 1st episode, what that topic was specifically.
I think the episode was probably called I Want to Be Successful. I'll pull it up to make sure.
Oh, it was our episode about success. Okay, specifically. Okay. Yeah. Well, let me say this. One of our hesitancies around doing that episode was realizing, right, that this type of response to how we show up in the world and how we and you know the privileges that we have worked for to be able to enjoy hits for folks who, you know, are at different stations and experience levels and privilege levels, you know, beyond us. And I feel like we try to have that conversation specifically in a way, right, that was, you know, sensitive to those realities, but also deeply rooted in ours. And the way I know, I'm getting hot again. And the way I know I'm getting hot again.
Uh-oh.
Because you reminded me of something, okay? The first 5 words, you.
You as in me, or you as in the letter?
You, Jarrett here.
Oh, okay.
Because the first 5 words of this comment is, I normally love this show. No, you don't. No, you don't. Stop lying to us. You can't. You can't normally love this show.
Come on.
And then make a comment like this that ignores the intention and the specificity and the clarity with which we have those conversations in this broader context. And I'm getting perturbed because I'm the one who is most often making sure that our discussions on this show, right, are not done in a vacuum. So don't tell me you normally love this show, because if you did, you wouldn't even fix your fingers to type out something like this on Beyonce's internet. Okay? And I'm done, because now I done gave you too much energy.
Well, no, because I think also, though, even the way that you brought it back to the beginning of the message, like, I normally love this show, which, like, if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, like, so much has changed since the show began, right? Like, we began this show in...
I'm so sorry, but I'm sorry. I just read what Palmyra put in the chat, and I have to say it out loud.
I know. I'm getting there.
Go ahead. Woo.
If you've listened to this show over the course of years, right? We started this show the first week of February of 2020. And, like, within 6 weeks of starting this show, we were in a pandemic, and we moved from doing this show in the studio to doing this show in Tre'vell's closet, and me sitting at the dining table. And, you know, like, we've come a long way from, like, figuring out what the hell pandemic was, and quarantine and social distancing and all of that, in the midst of, you know, dealing with race riots and all kinds of different things happening around the world, right? And, like, in the course of that time, I mean, like, we've seen all kinds of crazy shit, right? With a fucking insurrection, Donald Trump, period. Like, you know what I mean? Impeachments, all types of bullshit, right? We've seen 400 and 500 anti-trans laws and bills going into enactment or into state houses. We've seen immeasurable things happen over the course of this show. And, like, if you're expecting us to be the same people that we were in 2020, sorry, right? Like, I'm not, like, apologizing for where I am or what we're doing or, like, what we've been able to do. And Palmyra says in the chat here, folks have no problem listening to your pain, though, right? But your pleasure is too much. And it's like, we spend a lot of time having to discuss what's been difficult, or why things are difficult, or the ways that things show up in the world that are designed to oppress certain communities, oftentimes communities that we are in the intersections of, right? And so, like, that is a lot of the work that we do in our day-to-day lives, whether we're in this show or not. But, like, to be able to talk about how something is going well and we're excited about it, or, like, we were able to, even the conversation on success is nuanced, right? It's not just like, oh my God, I've been doing the backstroke in cash like I'm in the DuckTales fucking theme song. Right? You know what I mean? Which never really made sense to me, because anatomically you couldn't swim through coins. Like, it just didn't make sense. Like, girl, come on. Right? But, like, even as a kid, I was like, that don't make no sense, but I'm into it.
Literally.
But, like, even if that were the case, like, the idea that we can have, like, one moment of talking about what it's been like to enjoy some success, or be able to have a great moment, something that I've been thinking about since your party, actually. I did some writing about this, and I was like, when I remember being at your party and thinking, like, oh, this is a moment. Like, this is a moment in, like, our queer experience, right? People be like, oh, you remember Tre'vell's party when their book came out, and Shar was up there and they did the thing, and the you know what I mean? Like, oh, this feels like a moment, right? And, like, I was like, one day we will look at this moment and be like, ooh, those are some good days. not to say that things will be worse, right? They could be better, but like that they were good nonetheless, right? And so like to be able to be in this moment and to be able to appreciate it and to be able to be able to say like, you know, these are the things that have come along with being able to enjoy what you know, success looks like to us, or how we measure that. Like, I'm sorry that was upsetting for you, but I'm not really sorry, right? Like that's frustrating to hear.
It's just, and we're going to go to break as soon as I finish this. It's just, I get it. The last few years must have kicked your ass. I get it. The gag is it kicked mine too. I just came out looking a little different. You know, one of my favorite the great song. See, now I'm about to get worked up all again, and I can't do that because then you get petty when you get worked up.
Yeah, let's not do that.
You know, you get petty and we start getting disrespectful when you get worked up, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to that space at all.
Let's take a break, sis.
Try it not.
Let's go.
Because I was about to say.
I know, no, but don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
That there. Yes, let's go to break. Let's go to break.
Because the thing I'm not gonna say is about how your mama was like. It was like, okay, no, see. I'm glad that you did not say that. We're gonna go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, Palmyra is gonna join us. This episode's gotten a little heavy. There's some things to talk about though, but we'll take a break and be right back. Tre'vell, take a drink. Tre'vell, sit down. Sit back down now. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ketchup.
And I'm Socks.
And I'm Ball Bearings.
And I'm Pigeons.
And I'm Water Towers.
And I'm Cardboard.
Surprise! We're actually humans.
Humans making a podcast about those kinds of topics.
Because those are real episode topics on the podcast, secretly incredibly fascinating. That's a podcast where we take ordinary seeming things like ketchup and socks and cardboard and bring you the little known history and science and stories that make those things secretly incredibly fascinating.
Secretly incredibly fascinating!
The title of the podcast. Hear the back catalog anytime and hear new amazing episodes every Monday at MaximumFun.org.
All right, welcome back to FANTI. We have a comment from YouTube that says, this episode was excellent. Prior to listening to this conversation, I would have said that I didn't use AI because I didn't think of the examples you named as AI. Think spell check, autocorrect, etc. I have been really worried about how AI has been normalized in society for a while. And have purposely avoided things like Siri, Alexa, and didn't do Lenza when it was trending. And I don't use Apple Pay. There's a new one that everyone every couple of weeks, there's like every couple of months. Have you seen the new AI photos that everyone's sharing now?
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
I disregard. I've seen them, but I don't be playing with all that either. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was like, I think I've done my last one of these.
Cause next thing you know,
then my face is popping up somewhere.
Next thing you know, there's gonna be there's gonna be a clone of me. And listen, y'all barely handling me by myself. We don't need another. Okay. We don't need another.
Well, but then I also think to myself, like, there's a million photos of me on the internet already, and hours of me on camera on this show, on other shows. Like, they got plenty to work with. More than the average bear, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, getting back to our comment here about AI. It says, I even resisted using facial recognition on my iPhone for years until I went on vacation and came back having completely forgotten my password. I even appreciated the example Jarrett used around how our Apple Watches are tracking all our health data and have been careful not to use that since Roe was overturned. Oh, yes, interesting. I remember hearing a few different people talking about how they were concerned about their health devices that track their cycles and how that data can be used in different places. That's a whole other thing that I hadn't thought about again in a while. Go ahead. What were we gonna say?
I don't want to speak too deeply on it because it's the full story is not coming to mind right now. But there is some sort of legal situation going down right now with one of the apps. Particularly as it relates to the overturning of Roe. One of the apps giving or allowing the use, allowing access to a person's messages or DMs or profile or something like that, which was used to prosecute someone in a state that has, restrictive abortion things. And so that concern, I bring that up to say that the concern that this person is bringing up about any sort of these, entities and how they might, be weaponized in this, in our reality as of now, it's happening.
Yeah. The comment goes on to say, as a millennial, they're concerned about the ways that AI and like technology are kind of taking over, and they're wanting to divest. How do we unplug in the ways we want and stay connected in the ways we like? It's a slippery slope. Indeed. I feel like it is. Every time I feel myself resisting it, I start to feel like an old person, like resisting change, and I don't feel good about that. And so I don't know what the right answer is there. Okay, we have a comment. Actually, Tre'vell, you know what we're doing next. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we have one quick comment here from this is from Instagram. As you all know, we post clips of the show on the Instagram at FANTI Podcast. And one of our former guests, what do you call them? Returning champions, that's what you call them. Michael Street had a response. Because the question from the video this was in response to our Pride episode, in which we also talked about earlier when we were talking about Ncuti Gatwa. And the question is that I say in the videos, when did Pride become for not queer people? Mm-hmm. And Michael Street responded, when it became a parade, not a march.
I mean,
I'm gonna let that rest with y'all.
Yikes! Let that sit in the room for a minute.
All right. So for the end of this particular mailbag episode, we wanted to, bring on one of our lovely producers, Palmyra, okay? Because, they got some thoughts. And y'all already know we got some thoughts because we just, right before the break, we kind of went a little deep on a little something. But we wanted to bring on Palmyra to the team. So one, y'all can hear their fabulous voice, but also, they can also help us, address some of the comments y'all been giving us.
Yeah, Palmyra runs our social media and YouTube and so much of the things that y'all engage on the show. And Palmyra, you were saying that you were having some feels about some of the things that you were seeing in comments and in messages.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of our white listeners, as much as we appreciate y'all, I noticed that some of y'all are getting a little bit too brave. In Puerto Rico, in Puerto Rico we call it fresco. Like you're getting a little too fresh in our messages, and I just want to reiterate that I don't know about past FANTI, but this producer. Don't play that. I specifically don't play that. So,
y'all don't be provoking Palmyra in the DMs now. Don't get it started.
I bring it up to say that I know that we're a podcast where it's like one dimensional, but some of these messages are borderline violent. Like they're very, very aggressive. I'm inclined to believe that the messages that specifically Tre'vell has been getting about their success may be coming from the palm-colored listeners, but I can't, I can't confirm. But I just find it weird that it's just like there's no layer of like person-to-person communication, so maybe that's why some white folks may feel like they can speak to us however. But we're still people. Like Jarrett and Tre'vell are still people, and even if it's just through an email and not word, in person IRL, it's still really violent. And I need y'all to watch what y'all say. Like really really give it a second thought on what you're trying to what messages you're trying to convey to us. What are you gonna say, Tre'vell?
Just a number of things are coming up for me. I'm trying not to get hot again.
No, me too. Because it's very telling. Because Jarrett talks about his I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. But y'all seem to have only a problem when it's Tre'vell celebrating their wins.
You bringing up a lot of listen, you know, everybody with a black parent, particularly, or maybe a brown parent as well, I'm not sure. But you know, like when you have a telltale sign of like when a person is like getting upset, right? And for me and for a lot of like women and femmes in my family, it's the shaking of a foot, you know, like when they're trying to compose themselves, but that foot is working. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. Listen, okay, and my foot under.
Right. And depending on how much they got it going, the whole body starts to going.
Listen, because my foot is a shaking under this desk. My God. Okay, so I mean, so part of me even feels like us taking the time to like have this conversation and put this out there is, you know, feeding into giving space to, you know, all of that foolishness. You know, so part of me feels that and doesn't even want to go any further because y'all done got enough of my anger on this episode. And I do, Jarrett, you mentioned earlier how I don't know if that was on the mic or not, but you mentioned earlier about how, you know, we didn't want to really focus too much on the negativity, right, of, you know, these comments and these emails that we get. And I think we so often do focus on the positive.
For sure.
Intentionally so, right? You know, there are a number of emails that we have received that we should not have received, in my opinion, but that we did receive, and that, you know, as Palmyra has mentioned, you know, they getting a little violent. They getting a little, you feel emboldened to try to, you know, assert whatever it is you feel like how we should be showing up, how we should be doing our show that we own, that we put money and energy and time into.
Come on.
And one would imagine that you are not a member of the FANTI fam. You are not someone who helps contribute to the creation of this show, because those people, and in particular, those people who are white, recognize that what we do here is a gift that they are able to witness and partake in, but it is not their space. And if something is unsettled within their spirit about what we bring up on this here show, that's for them to handle with their licensed therapist professional. And so, and also at the same time, we have, I believe and I feel that we have tried, Jarrett, right, to cultivate a community here where when we are wrong, let us know we wrong. Watch your mouth, but let us know that we are wrong, right? And we have, I believe, that we have intentionally created a space where we want to be held accountable when we have done something or said something, right, that is harmful or that perpetuates, you know, whatever ism we are, you know, doing at that time, because we are fallible human beings and we've all got room to grow. Absolutely. And yet, watch your mouths. That's it.
Something that's sitting with me right now is also, Palmyra, hearing you talk about it, I'm intrigued by the pronouns you're using in we and our and us. So often I think about how people respond to the show as me and Tre'vell, but I don't think I often give enough thought or time to the fact that you are the person that is engaging it, Laura is engaging it. You know, we have a team of people who support this show. And so that is also landing with me in a way that I would just want to bring up and acknowledge. And also like acknowledge like that there's an emotional labor in that I don't think enough people appreciate or respect when they're writing into a show, when they are leaving comments on things that like especially, you know, people that live in the various different intersections, the three of us do, and then adding Laura into that mix as well. The people who live in our intersections, there's an emotional labor that comes along with our work that is day to day, that is all day, that is getting spoken to in crazy ass ways time and time again. And you do develop a bit of a skin around it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't always land somewhere, right? And I think that when you are writing into a show like this, when you are coming to speak to people who do this kind of work, like, just have a little bit of a thought about the fact that, about the emotional labor that goes into coming into a space like this and sharing with the world how you feel about these things, these experiences that you've had, what it takes to do the work that you do, and to do the work that you do, right? I think when you've seen people who have gone through all kinds of different things, and we did an episode talking about learning in public, right? Like, none of us is like here asking for like you to feel bad for us or praise us or anything like that, but like also like we're human beings, right? And like these messages pop up on our phone just like they do for you, right? The notifications show up for people the same way that they do for you. And the things that people come and say to us in our comments and in our letters and in our emails and at work and in the office and in the halls of Congress, and whether you're at the bank or working at the auto shop or as a teacher in the classroom, the things that people say to you, they land in certain places. And so I think that people have to be more thoughtful and compassionate about the ways that they are coming at folks who are doing a job, offering you a service, offering you a show, offering you entertainment, offering you a place to be able to learn something, offering you a place to grow that you don't have to be a part of. You don't have to tune into the show. You don't have to be a part of it, right? And like, or certainly not to be responding to it, right? You know what I mean? And so I just think that like when people are thinking about the work that they're responding to, like to just have another moment, as Tre'vell was saying, like take a second thought, like have another moment of like, oh, this is more than even just Jarrett and Tre'vell, and I think y'all are stupid because you, or I think you know, insert whatever thing here. Like it impacts more than just the two of us.
Or you think that, you know, that we're not going to read the emails, right? You think your interpretation of the life that I live, that you see on social media and on this show, leads you to believe that we would never see your comment or we would never see your email because you don't know. But the reality is, yeah, baby, we might make it look like we got everything going on, honey. Okay?
I mean, come on now.
But these are mom and pop shops, okay? These are mom and pop. We doing this. You know, when we ain't got no expansive teams behind this mother. You know what? You see what I'm saying? Like these are small operations. And we make it look good, and we might make it look, you know, like we got an army behind us.
Come on.
Okay? Okay? But that's our talent showing through. That's our perseverance showing through, right? And we are getting your messages, okay? And if you want to come out the side of your neck one more again, okay, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Palmyra, for joining us and sharing your experiences of this as well. Deeply appreciated.
Sending love to Palmyra and to Laura for the work that y'all do behind the scenes on the show and the whole team that makes this happen.
Absolutely. Okay, we've gone long already, but we got a quick dishonorable mention segment for you all. Jarrett, you've got one?
Yes, I want to give an honorable mention to Michelle Buteau's new comedy series, Survival of the Thickest, on Netflix. I am just getting this started. I had a friend call me and say like, oh my God, I watched the whole thing. I couldn't even stop and just went all the way through it.
It's so good.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it. If you're a Michelle Buteau fan, like you should be, then you are going to thoroughly enjoy the show. It's also very queer. It's very like, it is hitting so many different intersections, and it does it in a way that feels organic and like real, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So go check out Michelle Buteau's new comedy, Survival of the Thickest, on Netflix right now. Go ahead.
And quick plug, I'm over on Pop Culture Happy Hour, one of their recent episodes talking about Survival of the Thickest. So check that out.
I also want to give a shout out to the South LA Pride team that put together a really fantastic event over the weekend. But I want to shout out specifically Durand Bernarr. That performance, at the South LA Pride was so fantastic, and I just really, really enjoyed the music. I enjoyed how many references there are, like, to catch and to know and to be familiar with and to live in. And for just the artistry, I just really, really respected it. And I felt like at the end, you could see like it wasn't what he wanted it to be, and like really fought for that ending of the show. And like it was fantastic. I just really enjoyed it.
Yes. Also, specific shout out to co-chair of South LA Pride, Ray Love Jr., who we've mentioned on the show before. Also very hands-on, currently vice president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles under a one Jarrett Hill, who, you know, Ray was integral, helped lead that team with Jasmine Canick to pull that off. It was a really beautiful, wonderful, good time this weekend. With that, we about to get the hell up out of here.
We appreciate y'all so much. If you are listening on YouTube, you can go to fantipodcast.com to connect with the past seasons of this show. We've got 3 whole seasons of shows with all kinds of different conversations happening. Go to fantipodcast.com. If you have a comment or suggestion about this week's show, be thoughtful about what you say and where you say it. You can hit us up on social media at Fantipodcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitter and TikTok. And you can use the hashtag FantiFam, or you can send us an email to fanti@maximumfun.org.
Oh, yes. And as always, if you would like to become a financially contributing member of the Fanti Fam, okay, if you would like to get some access to, some special content that we are working on for the members of the Fanti Fam, you can join by going to MaximumFun.org/join. Also, before we get into our credits on the show, we want to remind you, okay, that We See Each Other, a Black trans journey through TV and film, is available wherever you get wonderful and bad books too. We also have the podcast, We See Each Other, the podcast. The entire thing is out right now. You can binge it all 9 episodes. Check that out with me and Shart Jocelyn. And obviously, your 2 favorite hosts right here, myself and Jarrett Hill. We have a book coming out in September 19th. It's called Historically Black Phrases, From I Ain't One of Your Little Friends to Who All Gonna Be There. Available September 19th. It's available for pre-order right now.
Who all gonna be there? Our music is by Corece, that is COR.ECE. You can get his music and check out his directing and all of the fantastic artistry coming from Corece wherever you're getting your Slay-worthy content. Our thanks to our graphic design team, Ashley Wen and the Moonhouse Creative folks. Our editor is Anne-Marie Huber. Our producer, who you got to talk to today, Palmira Muniz. You got like an air horn? And our senior producer is Laura Swisher. This is a production of Maximum Fun.